နေ့ကမိမိရဲ့စိတ်အပြေမထွက်ရအောင်လို့ကိုယ်တည်းကပေါ်ရလေးတွေပေါ်ဆဲလိုက်ပြီးတော့အမြဲမပြတ်ရှုမှတ်ရမယ်ဆိုတဲ့စကားကနေပြီးတော့ရှုဆိုတာဟာစံပါမရှုလို့ဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီဟာအခြေခံပြီးတော့စံအကြောင်းလေးတွေပြောတော့ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီဇာလည်းပဲပထမဇာဒုတိယဇာတတိယဇာသရုဒ္ဓဇာဒီစရုပ်ကအနည်းနဲ့ပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီတည်းကပထမဇာစပြီးတော့ပြောပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီမှာအင်္ဂါ9ရက်ဆိုင်ငါ9ရက်ရှိပုံလေးဒီမနေ့ကတာမညလောက်ပြောတော့ပါတယ်ဒီနေ့အဲ့ဒါဆက်ပြီးတော့လုပ်ငန်းစဉ်နဲ့ဟပ်ပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေရှင်းလင်းဖို့ပါပဲ
Yesterday evening, the Sayadaw talked about how important it is for the mind not to wander outside, and how this can be achieved if one is mindful at each moment of occurrence of any of the mental or physical phenomenon within us. He stressed also the importance of having jhana, or having the jhanic factors present in the consciousness that is trying to be mindful of whatever that is occurring. A brief outline of the different sorts of jhanas according to the fourfold way of reckoning was given, and the 5 jhana factors that accompany the first jhana were also dealt with at length yesterday. Today the Sayadaw will continue the talk and bring you even closer to a practical application of the theory that was learned yesterday.
ဒီတရားကလေးနဲ့တာမလို့အထူးအားဖြင့်လက်တွေ့နဲ့ပေါက်ဆက်ပြီးတော့ပြောရင်းမှာတကယ်လိုအပ်တာမလို့ထပ်ပြီးတော့ပြောမှရှင်းရှင်းလင်းလင်းလွယ်လွယ်နဲ့နားလည်နိုင်ဖို့ရရှိပါတယ်။ဒါကြောင့်ထပ်ပြီးတော့ပြောနေတာပဲဆိုတာပေါ့လေဒီလိုသဘောမထားဘဲနဲ့လေးနဲ့နားကြဖို့ရဘုန်းကြီးကပိဋကကိုကြိုတင်ပြီးတော့သတိပေးထားပါတယ်
Since a discussion on the 5 jhanic factors necessary for each moment of mindfulness has very direct and profound relevance to the practice that you are doing at the moment, Sayadaw feels that it is of utmost importance to bring home the point. He would therefore like to go over the points, the more important points that were mentioned yesterday, especially with regard to actual practice. It is hoped that the yogis here will not think lightly of this talk as a mere repetition of yesterday's, but will try to be as attentive as possible so that what is heard may be skillfully and properly put into practice.
မ Paṇḍitā Sayadaw Thuတ်ထဲမှာစာအကြောင်းအရာလေးတွေဝိစီဝကာမေဟိဝိသအကုသလိဓမ္မေဟိလို့ပြပါတယ်ဝုထုကာမကိလေသာကာမတို့မှကင်းစိတ်၍ကင်းစိတ်ရမယ်တဲ့ပြီးတော့အကုသိုလ်တရားတို့မှလည်းပဲကင်းစိတ်ရမယ်တဲ့အဲ့ဒီတည်းမှာဝိစီဝကာမေဟိဆိုတာကတပုတ်အကုသလိဟိဓမ္မေဟိဆိုတာကတပုတ်ကင်းကွာရာဖြစ်တဲ့တရားတွေပုတ်နှစ်ပုတ်နဲ့ပြထားပါတယ်
ဘာတော့လဲ
ဥဒိတဝိဘံကတော့
ကုဒိစ္စ
ဥဒိတဝိဘံကတော့ပဲ
In the Uddesa Vibhanga Sutta, which we discussed 2 days ago, there is some mention, there is in fact a specific mention of certain things that ought to be made remote. One should be secluded from kama, which means the sensual pleasures, and also from unwholesome dhammas.
Adi nabone ka chong pi do wei ka 3 မျိုးရှိပုံကိုပြပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီဝိက3မျိုးဆိုတာကတိကာယဝိကနှစ်စိတ်တဝိကနဲ့3ဝိခမနာဝိကဆိုတာပါလေအဲ့ဒီ3မျိုးပြပါတယ်
These out of these two things which should be made remote, things from which one should be secluded, are derived a threefold classification of the word viveka or seclusion. There is, first of all, kaya viveka, seclusion of body, citta viveka, seclusion of mind, and vikambana viveka, which will be explained later.
အဲ့ဒီတည်းကကာယဝိဝေကဖြစ်ရမယ်ဆိုတာဝတ္ထုကာမတွေမှကင်းလို့ရမယ်လို့ဆိုတယ်ဝတ္ထုကာမဆိုတာလူချင်းစရာမြင်ကောင်းကြားကောင်းအနံကောင်းရတာကောင်းအထီးတွေကောင်းခေါ်တဲ့ကာမဂုဏ်အာယုန်တွေကိုပြောပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီဟာတွေကကင်းစိတ်တာဒီနေရာဌာနမှာတော့ကာယဝိကလို့ဆိုထားပါတယ်
Kaya viveka, as is used in this context, actually refers to the objects of sensual pleasures. Kaya, the body of objects related to sensual pleasures. This simply means the objects of the senses, sounds, visions, visual objects, smells, tastes, tactile objects, and so forth.
Agutalehi wisa agutalehi dhamehi ဆိုတဲ့စကားနဲ့ကအကုသိုလ်တို့မှာကင်းရမယ်ဆိုတာစိတ်တဝိကဖြစ်ပုံပြပါတယ်စိတ်မှာတန်တန်ရှင်းရှင်းလေးဖြစ်နေရတာပေါ့ဒီမှာကာမိသနာအစရှိတဲ့နိဝရဏတရားစုတွေကကင်းပြီးတော့တန်တန်ရှင်းရှင်းလေးဖြစ်နေတာအချုပ်ပြောရလို့ရှိရင်မှတ်စိတ်တည်ကြီးအမြဲတစေပေါ့လေဖြစ်နေတာပေါ့ဒါယောဂီတွေနဲ့အနည်းဆုံးနားလည်လွယ်အောင်ပြောရမယ်ဒီတိုင်းပြောမှာပါပဲ
The reference to seclusion from unwholesome dhammas means, or actually comes under the category of citta viveka, seclusion of mind. The mind is secluded from the various hindrances that obstruct development of concentration, of meditation. In a practical way, this means that, or this state of citta viveka, the state of mental seclusion, refers to the activating of mindfulness from moment to moment. If a yogi is able to maintain that continuity of moment-to-moment mindfulness, then one can say that citta viveka, mental seclusion, is achieved.
ဒီဝိကနှမျိုးရရှိဖို့ဆိုတာလက်ကနေလို့ရတာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးအဲ့ဒီနေရာကြရနာရဆက်ထိရတဲ့ကာမဂုဏ်အာယုန်တွေကပေါ်တဲ့နေရာကနေပြီးတော့လွတ်တဲ့နေရာစိတ်ကျင်တဲ့နေရာသွားမှအဲ့ဒါတွေကလွတ်သွားပါတယ်တို့လုံးဝလွတ်ပလားဆိုတော့လုံးဝလည်းမလွတ်သေးပါဘူးမိမိရဲ့စိတ်ကလေးကိုထားရအာယုံမှာပေါ့လေအမြဲတစေရောက်နေဖို့ရောက်အောင်ချိန်တက်ပေးဖို့ပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါလိုလုပ်ပေးနေမှာလည်းပဲစိတ္တဝေကဒီဝရဏတရားတွေကကင်းဝေးစင်ကြယ်ပြီးတော့စိတ္တဝေကဖြစ်နိုင်ပါတယ်
Needless to say, these two types of viveka, of seclusion, do not come by without effort. We have to work for it. We have to take action. And the first step, of course, is to remove oneself from an environment of sensual pleasures so that one can have the opportunity to practice in an environment which is conducive to a peaceful mind, an environment which is quite free of sensual pleasures. However, a mere suitability of physical environment will not cause the arising of mental seclusion. Once the place has been suitably obtained, once a suitable location is obtained, then one should take another step to develop this seclusion of mind, which practically means that one is applying good aim in trying to be mindful of one's primary object of meditation or of whatever objects that may arise at any of the six sense doors.
လက်တွေ့နဲ့ပေါက်ဆက်ပြောရလို့ရှိရင်ဆိုကြပါစို့ခုတရားထုံနေတဲ့ယောဂီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များပင်တိုင်းအာယုန်အနေနဲ့နာသီဝမှာစိတ်ကပ်ပြီးတော့ဝင်လေထွက်လေကိုပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ရှုမှတ်တဲ့ကာယကတာတတိပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ဝမ်းပိုက်ကဖောက်မှုပိန်မှုပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပေါ်တိုင်းအာယုန်လေးတွေကိုမလွတ်တတ်မှတ်နိုင်ရေးအတွက်အဲ့ဒီရှုခွင့်ဖြစ်တဲ့အာယုံမှာရှုတည်တဲ့စိတ်ကလေးတက်ပြီးတော့ရောက်သွားအောင်လို့ချိန်ရွယ်ပြီးတဲ့သဘောလေးပေါ့လေရွယ်စုချက်ကလေးဝိတက်ဆံလေးပါနေတယ်သူရဲ့ရွယ်စုမှုကြောင့်ချိန်ရွယ်ပြီးမှုကြောင့်အဲ့ဒီအာယုံလေးတွေနဲ့ထိပါပုတ်တိုက်တဲ့ကဲ့သို့ဖြစ်သွားတာအာယုံလေးတွေမိသွားတာပေါ့လေဝိသရာလေးတွေဖြစ်နေပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီခိုက်တာမှာ ဥထုအာယုကာမဂုဏ်တွေနဲ့လည်းပဲကင်းကွာနေပါတယ်ပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒီကာမဂုဏ်အာယုတွေကိုလိုချင်တဲ့ကာမကိလေသာကာမလည်းမရှိပါဘူးအခြားခြားនិဝရဏတရားကိလေသာတွေလည်းပဲမရှိပါဘူးအဲ့ဒါတွေကင်းနေတာတစ်ချက်မှတစ်ချက်ကင်းနှစ်ချက်မှနှစ်ချက်ကင်းနေတာပဲဒီမှာနောက်အဲ့ဒီလိုကင်းမှများတဲ့အခါကျတော့အရှင်ရပြီးတော့အပြည့်လာတဲ့အခါကိလေသာတွေတော်တော်ဝေးပြီးတော့ကွာပြီးတော့နေတာဝိခမနာဝိကဆိုတာအလိုလိုရလာတယ်
ဝိခမနာဝိကဆိုတာ
ဟိုကင်းသွားတော့လားဖြည်းဝေးသွားတော့ကျုံပါများတဲ့အခါကျတော့
You may find it quite familiar if you will only refer to your own practical experience. Some of you are watching the in and out breath at the nostrils as a primary object. Some of you may be watching the rising and falling of the abdomen as a primary object of meditation. In any case, the effort made by the mind to be mindful is instrumental in bringing about a sense of accuracy in the mind. There is an attempt to be accurate in applying your mindfulness to the object of meditation, to your primary object. Now that aim, that attempt to be accurate, that attempt to accurately place the mind on the object of meditation is vitakka, the first jhanic factor, which is, we can translate it as aim. Now as the mind is all set and accurately aimed at the object of meditation, it is eventually placed on the object, and at the moment of placing, there is a hitting of the target. It's hitting the bullseye. The mind touches the object. The mind begins to rub the object, so to speak, impinges on the object. Now that is the second jhanic factor, which is called vichara. When one is able to do that continually and continuously, then the mind will be quite engrossed or absorbed in the desired object of meditation, in your rise and fall or in the in and out. At that point, it becomes very clear that the mind is free from the objects of the senses, the sensual objects. It is also clear that the mind is free from the kilesas, which, for example, desire an experience of the various sense objects, or the kilesas which are averse to an experience of the various sense objects, and so forth. So there is both kaya viveka, in the sense that there is seclusion of the mind from sensual objects, and there is also chitta viveka, which means that there is a seclusion of the mind from the kilesas which respond to or react to the various sense pleasures, the various objects of the senses. With continued practice and with the deepening of mindfulness and continuity, the momentum of your effort will bring about the third type of seclusion, Vikampana Viveka, at which point the kilesas would be very, very remote from your mind.
အဲ့ဒီလိုဝိက္ခမနာဝိကလေးတွေရလာလို့ရှိရင်စိတ်ဟာထူးထူးခြားခြားကြီးနူးညံ့လာတယ်တိမ်မွေ့လာတယ်ပေါ်ပါလာတယ်တာရှည်ခံတယ်အလေးအကျင့်တွေလည်းပဲထူးထူးခြားခြားကြီးရလာတယ်ဖြစ်လာတယ်ဓမ္မအဲ့ဒီတည်းမှာချမ်းသာလေးတွေလည်းနောက်တော့ပါလာတာပဲဓမ္မဝိတုကာမကိလေသာကာမတွေကလောပြီးတော့နိက္ခမဒုက္ခဆိုတာပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါတွေဖြစ်လာတယ်နိက္ခမဒုက္ခဝိတုကိလေသာကာမတို့မှာလွတ်လပ်တဲ့ချမ်းသာလေးပေါ့လေ
That sort of momentum which brings about this vikampana viveka is very interesting. When it happens, the mind becomes soft and subtle, and it becomes the mind becomes soft and subtle. It becomes very light and buoyant and very versatile and dexterous and very pliant. This brings about a sort of happiness, a sort of comfort that is called Nikkama Sukha, which means that it is the comfort or happiness that arises as a result of being free from the kilesas, being free from the objects of sensual pleasure, as well as the kilesas which long for or react to these objects.
Kama dukkha ro sunlo lai ya ro da be. Kaung li de myin ja nan sa thi pi do chanda li de po li ai da li de do luat twa bi ai di chanda do let mat phit twa bi. Da pe mai lo ai di neya ma aku thu ja de nikkama sukha yauk la da.
So in place of the happiness, apparent happiness and comfort that can be derived from the sensual pleasures, this vikampana sukha, this nikkama sukha, this liberating comfort appears. In relinquishing the comfort and happiness of the senses, one gains this very comfortable and happy state of liberation from those very senses which we have relinquished.
The level we see what can be so the Patama Ponega Utu Kama, Kilita Kamaruma, Kimbido Kilita Pitchin, a jaw, Ayu Utu Dego, Pebo Biaba Kilita Pitchin, a jaw, Utu Dego, Kamu Ayuniva. Utu Kama Kilita Kamaruma Kino, Eri Kilita Uturi Bebom Yado, Kamagoni Beta.
Another way of looking at this is when the objects of sensual pleasures and the kilesas associated with these objects are made remote from one's mind. This also means that sensual pleasures have been given up. One has renounced the sensual pleasures.
Visa Agudali Dhamma Sure Saganega Aguduroma Kinsei Saravali Agudu Bagudu Mamashi Wadi Kaitama Kisimi Sure Zagane Fabia the Kilita Pebo Bia Kaita Peleboni King Dwaboni Bia.
In the sutta, the reference to seclusion of the mind from unwholesome dhammas actually means that there is a seclusion of the mind from all the kilesas. There is no opportunity for these kilesas to arise because the causes, the immediate cause for these kilesas, namely the sense objects, have been given up.
Puruga Bedale Sara and you say them a pare Sa Inga Wally Sainga Ute Inga Peter Wisara Inga Wally Chane had never taken power. Tiro Sana with a boha. Suicide say shoes with a harry and David Mayuya Long Night Pit, Pesha Pit is with a David Yard. These are lady Pienilu, the Inji Wally. King in water so that they change out.
One may ask, what is actually responsible for this seclusion of the mind? What is responsible for this giving up of sensual pleasures, sensual objects? The answer, of course, is very obvious. It is precisely due to these two jhanic factors of vitakka, aim, accurate aim, and vichara, the impingement or the hitting of the target, of the object of meditation. So these jhanic factors are actually responsible for the giving up of sensual pleasures. The word jhana, which is usually translated as an absorption, or been absorbed in observing the object of meditation, takes a new meaning, takes another alternative meaning, in that not only does that state of mind allow absorption in the object of meditation to take place, but it also gives up or puts away the kilesas. Just like fire is able to burn away dirt, so that jhana is able to burn away the kilesas.
Adelo Zampio Atoya, Patama Atoya Ma She uzwa we didn't visara ha
In the development of jhanic states, the first two jhanic factors of vitakka and vichara, accurate aim and impingement, are absolutely important.
You know, through Nuha, a change two jabble lady or Jangam Yama, Ubama, a mumudi, Petabare. A Petare Umarega, Didayo, Namula, Ponia, Letwin a Ponsabi of Popiaba.
The important interrelationship between these two factors is treated quite extensively in the texts, in the scriptures. Various examples are given to bring home the point. Sayadaw would like to just give two out of the many examples that were given in the scriptures.
Any jerry denny there, Jigwaji Teloshi there. Any Jigwago, any jerry bouncing on low. Let the pega, Kang and Mia Kai Mido. A child let the pega. Any jerry Kinsey nine say body, Chichu say. Bit out of my brush body. Era. Don't lay me to put a baby. A little put a baby, she and ye jitty. A little sin daughter of it. Nalove. I own the cuckoo body kind hard. Who have been a cow matter book so ye. Nadiwa Tavido, when I try body. Eddie I only a yami, who done it. Kind of me kind hard. Eddie the body did it yatia or Wisara and never put I beer. Put I be there, Kajara, and you jelly kinsey without Nadiwa, my young need gonna. Lead the body, Pauna Bina Malushi, Pauna Bina the body. The lady be that way like that. Did a Jigwago Kaimido Taya, Kain Tare, the Fega Kain Tare, Lega, Udene to be a Shadowega, Kangami, put a lega, Wisaran at 2 hours.
The first example is that of polishing a brass mirror. Imagine that there is a brass mirror which is soiled and dirty, and one is given the task of polishing that. Oh, sorry, it's not a mirror, but it's a cup or a mug. A brass cup or mug, and one is given the task of polishing it, of cleaning it of the dirt and stains. So one holds the mug with one's hand, holds it with one hand, and takes some brass polish, put it on a sponge or a piece of cloth and hold it with the other hand, and do your work. You hold it in one hand and use the other hand to polish the brass. After some time, if one is able to polish it diligently, and carefully, then one can get rid of all the stain and dirt, and the brass mug will become polished and shiny. In the same way, a yogi who is watching a basic object of meditation, like the breath at the nose tip or the rise and fall of the abdomen, must first of all hold his mind at that particular place where the object is occurring. And secondly, he's got to keep on applying mindfulness at that place, keep on rubbing that place, so to speak. And in time, the mind will be rubbed of stains and pollutions and the kilesas, and one will be able to penetrate into the true nature of what is happening at that particular spot. One can understand and comprehend the nature of wind, the wind element, as it enters and leaves the nostrils. One can come to understand the true nature of the rising and falling processes. But this will only come about if one is able to hold the mind there and rub it into the object. In that example, the holding of one hand, the holding of the mug with one hand is analogous to vitakka, or aim and accuracy, accurate aim, while the polishing of the mug with the other hand is analogous to vichara, that quality of impingement, of rubbing.
ဒီဥပမာအမှန်ရှင်းပါတယ်ခုဘုန်းကြီးတို့ယောဂီတွေလည်းပေါ်ရအာယုလေးတွေကိုပေါ်တိုင်းပေါ့လေမလွတ်တမ်းဒီမှာဝိတက်နဲ့ဖတ်နေရရှုသိတဲ့စိတ်ကလေးတွေရှုရအောင်ပေါ်မှာရောက်သွားအောင်ဆိုပြီးတော့ဒီမှာတင်ပို့တဲ့အနေနဲ့ပေါ့လေဒီမှာအရအမီဖတ်နေရအရအမီဖတ်ပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒါလေးကိုပုတ်တိုက်သုံးတတ်တဲ့အနေပေါ့လေဒီမှာဆင်ញင်တဲ့သဘောလေးတွေလည်းမတိမတာဖားသွားတယ်ပြောနေတာကကြာပါသေးတယ်ဖြစ်တာကတခဏလေးပါပဲအဲ့တော့အာယုံလည်းပဲအရမီဖားရမယ်ဒီဟာကိုလည်းပဲပုတ်တိုက်တဲ့ကဲသို့ပေါ့လေသုံးတတ်ပြီးသားလည်းဖြစ်သွားပဲလားအာယုံမမိလို့ရှိရင်တော့ပုတ်တိုက်လို့မရပါဘူးအာယုံမိမှပုတ်တိုက်လို့ရပါတယ်ခုနကြီးအိုးကိုတစ်ဖက်ကမကင်မဲနဲ့တိုက်နေဟိုလိမ့်ဒီလိမ့်နဲ့ဘယ်တိုက်လို့ရမလဲတစ်ဖက်ကတော့ကင်ထားပါတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့လည်းအခြားတစ်ဖက်ကမပုတ်တိုက်ဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းပဲကြီးအငြိကြီးတွေမပြောင်းဘူးအဲဒါလက်နှစ်ဖက်လုံးအသုံးကျပါတယ်ဒါလိုပဲခုအာယုံကိုအမိဖမ်းအဲ့ဒီအာယုံပုတ်တိုက်တဲ့ကဲဆိုသုံးတတ်တဲ့သဘောလေးဟာနှမျိုးလုံးပါနေဖို့သိအရေးကြီးပါတယ်တချို့ယောဂီများအဲ့ဒါလေးတွေအားနေကြတဲ့အတွက်ပြပြမြင်မရှိတော့မှတ်မိတဲ့များလေးတွေဘာလဲဆိုတာမေးလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်မရှင်းပဲဖြစ်တတ်ပါတယ်
This occurrence of vitakka and vichara is also very obvious or can be seen in the process of trying to be mindful of other objects of meditation, whatever that arises, whatever that is more prominent than your basic object of meditation. If indeed something more prominent should arise, one is immediately charged with the task of noting that particular object, that particular phenomenon. In order to note it effectively, one must have accurate aim. The mindfulness must be aimed accurately at the object that has occurred. So that accurate aim points the mind and places it on the object of meditation. But that's not enough. One needs to be able to hit the target, impinge on the object of meditation and rub it in so that one can penetrate into it. The importance of the interrelationship or interdependency of these two factors of jhana, jhanic factors, can be seen in the example of polishing the mug, the brass mug. Imagine what would happen if you just hold it in your hand and not do anything about polishing it with the other. The mug will remain as dirty and as stained as ever. On the other hand, if you do not hold it and try to polish it with the other hand, you will see that it is quite impossible to make a good job out of it. So both these qualities of mind, vitakka and vichara, are essential in the application of mindfulness. The reason why Sayadaw is dealing so extensively with this subject is because some yogis are unable to be precise in the observations, and when asked about their experiences, some yogis are unable to give satisfactory or detailed answers. It is hoped that tonight's talk will be able to enlighten some of you yogis.
ဝိစာရကသုံးတတ်တယ်ဆိုလို့တမင်တက်တဲ့အလွတ်ပေါ်လေသုံးတတ်တာမျိုးတော့ဒါတော့မလိုလားအပ်ပါဘူးအဲ့ဒါလိုသုံးတတ်ရမယ်လို့လည်းပဲအတိတ်ပဲကောက်မလွဲဘူးလည်းပဲအရေးကြီးပါတယ်အများအားဖြင့်အနောက်နိုင်ငံသားတွေဟာသူတို့သင်လာတဲ့ပညာကစင်ញင်တုံမျှော်မြင်တုံနေအမှန်တမ်းများတယ်ကလေးဘဝကျောင်းသားဘဝကစပြီးတော့ဒါပါလဲဒါပဲလို့လဲဒါဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုတာပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီအလေးထားတွေကအမှန်တမ်းများတယ်လက်တွေ့အားထုတ်တဲ့တရားနယ်ထဲမှာအဲ့ဒီလိုအလွတ်စင်ញင်သုံးတတ်တဲ့သဘောမျိုးတွေပါနေလို့ရှိရင်တော့ပဲနီးနဲ့မှအာယုန်နဲ့မှစိတ်နဲ့မထိပါဘူးမမိပါဘူးဝိသရာသဘောမျိုးဖြစ်နေမှာဘူးအလွတ်ကြံစည်တဲ့ဝိသရာသဘောမျိုးပဲဖြစ်သွားနိုင်တယ်တကယ်လက်တွေ့ဝိသရာတော့မဖြစ်နိုင်ဘူးအာယုန်နဲ့မထိဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့အဲ့ဒီဟာဘာလဲဆိုတာလည်းပဲအဖြေမရနိုင်ပါဘူးအဲ့ဒီအချက်ကလေးတွေတော့သိတည်ထားဖို့လိုပါတယ်
Some popular renderings of the word vichara investigation and sustained thought. Now, to use these two words in place of the Pali word vichara in the English language would doubtless prove to be very misleading. The words investigation and sustained thought connote a different sort of meaning. Sayadaw is aware that people who have been educated in the West have been trained to make much use of their intellect. Ever since you attend kindergarten and go on to primary school, elementary school, and so forth, you have been always asked to find out the whys and the wherefores and the hows, and so forth. if one were to apply that sort of investigation into meditation, in the practice of meditation, the actual practical aspect of vichara can never be realized. There will only be a whole train of intellectual thought, of reasoning, of thinking about the object of meditation, rather than going into it and penetrating into it and understanding it for what it is. So this is a point that has to be noted. It's very important. In the practice of meditation, that sort of intellectual investigation, that sort of thinking, reasoning or logical thinking is certainly not required. What is the quality of vichara, as was explained just now through the illustration, becomes clear as that of impinging or rubbing of the mind on the object of meditation. It does not involve any sort of conceptualizing or reasoning or intellectualizing at all.
အတုတဲ့ခိုက်တန်လေးမှာအချိန်ကိုလူပန်းသလောက်တကယ်ပရမတရားအစစ်တွေကိုပေါ့လေကြည့်ပြီးဟောရေးမတိမှဆိုရလို့ဘုန်းကြီးကဟန်တာတဲ့သဘောပါယောဂီများရဲ့အတိညာကိုချိုးနှိမ်တဲ့အနေနဲ့ပြောတာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးဘုန်းကြီးတို့စာပေအရာရောလက်တွေ့အရာရောညာမျိုးမျိုးရှိတဲ့တဲကသုတမယညာနဲ့ကျင့်တမယညာတချို့လောကီဇာနဲ့မှာပါတဲ့ညာတွေဟာပရမတ္ထတရားအစစ်ကိုမသိနိုင်ဘူးတဲ့ဘာဝနာမယညာကသာပရမအစစ်ကိုသိနိုင်တယ်လို့ဒီလိုဆိုပါတယ်
လောကီဇာမှာသုတမယညာနဲ့
ကျင့်တမယတချို့လောကီရူပဇာနဲ့ဇံပါဇာနဲ့ညာနေပေါ့ဇာနိကညာနေပေါ့
အဲ့လိုမျိုးဆက်တယ်သုတမယကျင့်တမယ
အဲ့ဒီညာ၃မျိုးကပရမတ်ကိုမသိဘူးလို့ပြညာတွေပဲသိတာဘာဝနာမယညာမှာတကယ်ပရမတ်ကိုသိတာယုံနာပရမတ်တွေသိတယ်
သုတမယညာနဲ့ကျင့်တမယညာနဲ့ဘယ်လိုဆက်တယ်
အဲ့ဒါတွေကစဉ်းစားပြီးတော့စာရသိတာပဲစဉ်းစားပြီးတော့သိတာပဲပရမတ်အစစ်ကိုမသိဘူးလို့
The reason why the Sayadaw is bringing up this point is out of concern that the yogis here will not be able to realize or will not be able to actually observe or look at Paramattha Dhamma or ultimate reality. Ultimate realities here, of course, mean all the things that can be directly experienced through your sense doors without thinking, without conceptualizing, all the mental and physical phenomena. Sayadaw has no thought at all of wanting to belittle your intellectual capacity or prowess. In the scriptural classification of knowledge or wisdom, there is a traditional categorizing according to Suttamaya Jnana, Chintamaya Jnana, and Bhavanamaya Jnana. This Suttamaya Jnana, of course, refers to knowledge that comes through learning. And Chintamaya Jnana refers to knowledge that comes through thinking. And Bhavanamaya Jnana refers to insight that comes through actual meditation. Now, although one may be able to understand a lot about the Paramattha Dhammas, the ultimate realities, in an intellectual way, through learning and through thinking, that is not the real experience. We are only understanding about it. One is not really gaining an insight into it. There is no actual experiencing of it. And even in some of the Bhavana Maya Jnana, some of the insights and knowledge gained through meditation, one may still not be able to experience this Paramattha Dhammas, these ultimate realities. This, of course, refers to the samatha jhanas, the tranquility absorptions, where the object of meditation are concepts rather than things which can be directly experienced without thinking.
ထင်ရှားဆုံးဥပမာပြောရလို့ရှိရင်ပန်းသီးဆိုကြပါစို့ပန်းသီးကိုကိုရှေ့မှာချထားပန်းသီးချိုးတယ်ဆိုတာအများနားလည်နေပါတယ်ကြာဘူးနာဘာလည်းပဲရှိနေတာပဲငကောလည်းပဲစားဘူးနေတာပါပဲဟိုတော့ကစားဘူးလို့ချိုးတာသိတာကတော့အဲ့ဒါစဉ်းစားပြီးတော့သိတာပဲအဲ့လိုစဉ်းစားပြီးတော့သိမယ်အစားပန်းသီးကိုပါးစပ်ထဲကိုထည့်ပြီးတော့ဝါလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်တော့အရသာသိလာတာပန်းသီးရှေ့ချပြီးတော့ပန်းသီးချိုးတယ်လို့သိတာကတော့တုတ္တမယညာစသည်ပဲပါးစပ်ထဲရောက်လို့ဝါပြီးတော့ချိုးမှန်းသိတာဒါဘာဝနာမယညာသဘောမျိုးပဲလက်တွေ့သိသွားတာအဲ့ဒီအသိတွေအမှန်တန်ကွာခြားပါတယ်
This direct personal experience of ultimate realities can be illustrated through another example. Say you have an apple in front of you. You heard someone say that it's a very sweet apple, very juicy, delicious. And you can sit in front of the apple and you can think all about the juiciness and deliciousness of the apple. But as long as you don't take a bite, you don't actually experience it. Or it may be an apple that you come across as you walk by and you look at it and you start to think, well, it looks like a very juicy apple. It looks very delicious. I bet, it's going to be very sweet. Well, you can think and you can bet, but as long as you don't eat it, you don't really taste it. It is the tasting, it is the actual eating that counts. So too, in respect to knowledge, to insight, you may have read a lot about various sort of insights. You may have made use of your vivid imagination to think about how an experience of the insights may be like. But if you don't actually practice in the right way and experience the insights yourself, then that's not the real thing.
အဲ့တော့ပေါ်တိုင်းအာယုံကိုချိန်သားကြိုက်ပြီးတော့ထိထိမိမိပေါ့လေရှုနေပြီဆိုရင်စံသဘောတွေကပါနေတော့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာဥပဒနာစံနေဥပဒနာဉာဏ်နေဖြစ်လာတယ်တော့အဲ့လိုဟာမျိုးမှသိကြပါတယ်တော့ကိုယ်တွေ့ပဲသူကညင်းလို့မရတော့ဘူးသူယောဂီတွေတကယ်ကိုယ်တွေ့တွေသိရအောင်ညင်းလို့မရနိုင်တော့အောင်ပေါ့လေအသိတွေပွားရအောင်ကြိုးစားနေကြတာအဲ့လိုကြိုးစားရမှာအခုအာယုန်နဲ့မှစိတ်နဲ့ချိန်သားကြိုက်ပြီးတော့ဝိတက်ပါတယ်အာယုန်ထိမိတဲ့ဝိသရတွေတစ်စီပါနေတယ်တော့အဲ့ဒီဟာလေးတွေရှုတိုင်းမှာပါဖို့အသိအရေးကြီးပါတယ်
With the diligent application of accurate aim and actual rubbing of your mind onto the object of meditation, there can be no doubt that eventually wisdom or insight will be able to unfold. That sort of insight or wisdom is in intuitive understanding, comprehension of the Paramattha Dhammas, of things as they really are, the natural state of affairs. It does not come out of thinking, out of reasoning. And that sort of direct, personal, intuitive insight or experience is something that is not arguable. There is no room for argument. There is no room for any denial of its existence, because you actually experience it. And that's what all of you are trying to do. Only if you have that quality of accurate aim and rubbing, of impinging in your meditation, as you try to activate that penetrative mindfulness from moment to moment, will you be able to actually experience that sort of intuitive insight.
ဝိတ္တဝိသရာနှမျိုးရဲ့ထူးခြားပုံလေးတွေတစ်မျိုးနောက်ဥပမာတစ်ခုပေးထားပါသေးတယ်။အဲ့ဒါအထင်ရှားဆုံးပြောရလို့ရှိရင်ဘုန်းကြီးတို့ geometry ပညာမှာစက်ဝိုင်းတစ်ခုလောက်တော့မယ်ဆိုရင်စူးလေးတစ်ခုပါတဲ့ကိရိယာလေးတစ်ခုရှိပါတယ်။တစ်ဖက်ကစူးလေးတစ်ခုကိုဘိုးအချက်မှာပေါ့လေထောက်ထားပြီးတော့အခြားတစ်ဖက်ကလှည့်ရတယ်စက်ဝိုင်းဖြစ်သွားအောင်ပေါ့လေ။အဲ့ဒါလို့ထောက်ထားပြီးတော့လှည့်မှညီညာတဲ့စက်ဝိုင်းတစ်ခုဖြစ်လာနိုင်ပါတယ်။ဒီတော့ထောက်ထားတဲ့တစ်ဖက်ကထောက်ထားတဲ့စူးကဘာနဲ့တူတယ်ဆိုဝိတ္တနဲ့တူတယ်။ဝိတ္တကပေါ်ရအောင်လေးမှာထောက်ထားရတယ်မလွတ်ရအောင်ထောက်ထားတာ။အခြားတစ်ဖက်ကပုတ်တိုက်လှည့်ပေးရတာ။အာယုံကားတဲ့ကိုထိထိမိမိအကုန်လုံးချုံမိငုံမိအောင်ဆိုပြီးတော့လှည့်ပေးရတယ်။အခြားတစ်ဖက်ကလှည့်တဲ့စူးနဲ့ဝိသရာနဲ့တူရတယ်တော့အဲ့ဒါလိုပြထားပါတယ်။ဝိသရာမထောက်မိဝိတ္တကမထောက်မိလို့ရှိရင်ဝိသရာလည်းလှည့်လို့မရဘူး။တိတ်အရေးကြီးပါတယ်။အဲ့ဒီနှစ်ခုဒီကိရိယာနှစ်ခုဘက်ဒီဘက်ချွန်လေးပြည့်စုံသွားမှလိုအပ်တဲ့စက်ဝိုင်းပေါ်ထွက်တယ်လို့ပဲထို့အတူပဲအာယုတစ်ခုပြီးပြီးသားသားဖြစ်ရေးမှာဝိတ္တကလည်းပဲအာယုစီမိအောင်ထောက်ရမယ်။ဒါတွေလည်းလှည့်ပရမယ်ဒီမှာညီညာညာလေးပေါ့ဒီဝမ်းဝဲဆက်ဆက်လေးထိထိမိမိလေးခြုံမိငုံမိအောင်လုပ်ရမယ်လား
The second example is that of a compass. We're talking about the compass that is used in geometry. As you know, in a compass, a compass has two arms, one that has a point, and the other which holds a pen or pencil, a writing, a drawing instrument. In order to use the compass effectively, one has to firmly place the pointed arm onto a piece of paper and then rotate the other arm so that one can form or draw a perfect circle. One can see that this circle, this perfect circle, can only come about if the pointed end, the pointed arm, is firmly held. This is the same case with the yogi. The yogi has to firmly aim the mind at the object of meditation and to rotate the mind, so to speak, so that the object can be seen as a whole and very clearly.
Change. Change like that. That appeared. She said, "We do. Pure. Machine. Babu. Now, dini. Dialogue. Be to Java. So. Every time yogi miya. Pouring. Do ayolego. Pose. Mavoli. Malota. Witness. Top. Biro. Visara. Nevoli. Pibida. That pie. With a kono. Choming. Only. One says clearly. Tension. Don't that Java. See. Don't that video. But Nayan is in the David. You know what you have said, never young Java, say, let's sit down in it. Yeah, you think about
it. Sayadaw would like to conclude tonight's talk, hoping that all of you will be able to apply these two very important factors of mind, of vitakka and vichara,